So what we're doing is we're reaching out to Kilmarnock residents during the lockdown, and we're just asking them about things that they value in the town, or changes that they would like to see. So first question is, have you got a favourite building or a man-made structure that you think enhances the town, or something that just you think is really attractive, and what it is you like about it?
Yep, so my favourite building is in my favourite park, and that's in the K Park. I absolutely love the Burns Monument Centre, and I love it so much because I knew it when it was just a tower. When I started here back in 1992, we used to run Burns Day celebrations, and I was the sports officer and I did all the events, and one of my jobs was to hoover that tower from top to bottom because people used it once a year. I love the beautiful sandstone nature of it. I think it's a beautiful tower. It stands out. I'm not a mad person that's into poetry, but I think it stands out, and you can see it from all different parts of Kilmarnock when you're driving in. You see it popping its head over. And I was heartbroken when there was the fire there. We really were, and we thought, was that going to be the end of a monument that to me sat so well within the surroundings of the park? But out of the phoenix, or out of the flame came the phoenix, out of suffering came hope, because we were able to use the money from the insurance, but also to work in a really creative way with a number of people at the time to develop the centre round about it. And it was a colleague of mine, Gerard Cairns, who's now retired, who was in charge of libraries at the time and registration. And he had a dream with his staff to really make that an amazing place for people to get married and to go and research genealogy. So for me, it was about somebody having a dream based on, something that had been destructed. There was a destruction, and that we grew the sandstone building round the tower out of it, and redid the tower, but kept it and keep it. It wasn't too modern, but it had a modern enough flair that you could go and have a wedding there. So also it brought people to the park who had never been, and the K Park is probably the treasure for me in Kilmarnock. So I love that monument centre. I've had happy experiences there. I was interviewed to be the kind of head of housing there, and I was also interviewed for my post of deputy chief executive. And so I've got good memories of wanting to put myself in there and going into my most beautiful park and being comfortable to be there. So that building's beautiful, and it came out of a fire and was made into something hopeful and useful that people use from all over the world now in terms of genealogy and getting married.
My sister did her research into her family tree a few years ago, so I went up with her there, and I was quite impressed by all the resources and the documents that were there. And we even got a wee look in the archive bit, and the chap brought out this document, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like something that was like over 200 years old, and I'm thinking, oh, that would have been about the time of the French Revolution and things like that. And here it was, a document sitting in a store in Kilmarnock. So it's that connection back with the past, isn't it? And even like you're saying, the modern function, that the function room is lovely when you're sitting in it, and you can look out into the park with the long windows at the side of it.
No, it's a great building, and you're so right about the connection with history. And they built it in such a way that although it looks traditional outside, those documents, it's air protected, so they've built amazing things inside to keep our heritage safe, and I think that was so important. And the other thing that reminds me of up there is Cathy Dunlop and her team, who's a chief registrar for the council. She registers deaths, she carries out marriages with her team, and just recently, and I know I'm going off script a wee bit, but you'll expect that from me.
No, that's what it's all about.
But just recently, they've been working every weekend since this started, because obviously we need to register deaths over the weekend. So they've been, quietly working away. And recently they carried out a wedding. Somebody had asked them that somebody was terminally ill and they wanted to get married, and they found a way to make it happen. Cathy for me epitomises, what a flexible, person, a servant leader is, in terms of, she's in that surrounding. She absolutely loves it. She makes the very best of it, but also she serves people from there and reaches out from there as well. So there's a people feel to me about that building, and there's the building itself, which is just steeped in history that will be preserved for us. So
there's definitely something about your work environment and how it gets the best out of people, and how it's good
Absolutely.
for their well-being as well. So I'm going to use that as a segue into my next question. So that
like
was
I love segues. I've been in segues all over the world. That's another story for another day.
so that was the built environment. What about the natural environment? What do you think there is in the natural environment that's special to Kilmarnock and enhances the town for us?
Well, there's two things I would, if I'm allowed to. So,
Absolutely.
obviously the context of K Park to me is, it's a beautiful urban park. I take the same picture at every element of the year, and you probably know the one I'm going to say, and it's that avenue of trees. I took it the other day and it reminded me of Paris, and you know what, I posted it on Twitter, and I love Twitter, but I don't really use it for work, it's for inspiring. And there was hundreds of likes because I'd said it looked like, Kelly had Paris there, and then people started to reflect on trips to Paris, and it brought them out of the lockdown and their imagination. So I love the park because I think it's right in the middle of the town, and it is beautiful. It's got the pond itself. We've just had 8 cygnets born there, thank goodness, and they, to me, represent life and hope. There's a real metaphor in that park for me, that Kilmarnock, it takes its green space so very importantly, and that people are able to use that as a family. At any one time you'll go there and there's families having picnics, and they're walking around, they're walking with dogs. It's a place that people use. It's a lung of the community where people can take a deep breath, metaphorically and physically. I think it's particularly important just now when people need an outlet and somewhere to go. So I love that park. I think there are certain elements that I take over, and again, there's squirrels running wild. I even saw a deer there one time early in the morning. I watched the heron down at the river. It is a beautiful park, and people, I think, absolutely love it. And the context of it, there's enough structure and texture in it. You can be in your own and walk down the bowl at the bottom, or you can go to the front, and now with the lovely wooden walkway, I love the wooden boardwalk, and you can observe the birds. So it's a place for families. So I absolutely love the K Park, and the best time of the year for the K Park is play day. Mm-hmm. So we've had nearly 20,000 people in that park in their canoes, climbing the trees, toasting marshmallows, sitting in picnic blankets. And then there's other days when I've been in a winter's day, there's maybe only me and the dog walking through. So for me, it's a place where I go to recharge, but it always makes me smile. And I love the fact that our guys, that our outdoor guys, our apprentices, spend a lot of time there, and they compete in terms of how lovely the flowers are that they plant. And I love it when I say there's Nick's bedding plants in, and they change the colours, they put the tulips in, and then they move to the different things. So they've tried to bring it to life. And also love the fact that we've been a bit different there. Some parks are manicured within an inch of their life, and people say that that's how parks should be. But we took the decision through Annika Friel, who's now, of course, the Chief Officer at the Leisure Trust, but she at the time was leading all of the work around accessing countryside. And she worked alongside us and said, let those bankings grow wild. They'll be beautiful. They'll bring bees and insects, and we'll bring wild flowers. So we stopped cutting the bankings. And actually, some people say, oh, that's the council not doing its job. But if you see the bankings when they grow in, it's a hive of nature. And young kids were part of that project. So they did a whole lot of projects on it, and their signage explaining, because we edge the bankings but let the rest grow wild, actually it's been so good for the ecosystem of the park. So I love the way that we've balanced things in the park for everybody, really. If you want the manicured bit, you can sit on a bench and look at the lake, but if you want to see the wild bit of it, you can walk down and the kids can see the bees and the butterflies and everything gathering there. So that's my favourite kind of urban park. And if I'm allowed one more, I love the walk along the River Irvine. I walk out of Kilmarnock out of Kilmarnock from where I live in Woolhouse Road, and over in through at the edge of New Farm, and over the bypass, and walk towards Crooked Home. And if you keep walking down there's a beautiful river walk that takes you to Hurlford. And I've seen kingfishers there, which nearly made me cry. Bright blue, fast as you like. We see a heron. There's a heron that lives there, and I recently got great pictures of him down fishing. And you see the swallows coming at different times. And at winter, it's very bare, and everything grows back. And at spring, everything starts to come, And then moving through the seasons, you get crab apples and things. But it's it changes when you see it depending on the seasons. But again, you meet people along there, families, cyclists. I even saw a horse coming along the other day, and it's a piece of Kilmarnock that to me is along a river. It's undulates along there and takes you to Hurlford, and you see the spire when you're arriving, in Hurlford, you know, at the side, and to me that it's a beautiful walk as well, and that's much more rural. So I think we're so lucky in Kilmarnock that we can have that kind of we can have all of it. We can have urban outdoors, but we can also have rural within a 15-20 minute walk.
Absolutely. The Victorians knew what they were doing when they gave us the parks, didn't they?
Oh, they really did.
And just when you were talking about the K Park, I noticed ages ago you brought the lions back, and I think nearly, well, a certain generation, everyone who grew up in Kilmarnock, we've all got a picture as a baby sitting on the back of one of those lions.
Absolutely. And you know, I just think they're so metaphoric. It was so important to build in what was there and the heritage of it. But you're right, they attract people from all over the place, and I'm always taking pictures, and kids are still being put in the back of those lions now. I see it nearly every time I go. It's brilliant.
It's funny because I was asking my mother the other day, I said, do you remember that picture of me? And it's a black and white picture, that's how long ago it was taken, sitting on the back of one of the lions. So she's going to try and look it out for me.
Oh, fantastic. That's a project. We could do a lions project to see all the different people. Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be great. We could maybe there's guys doing the Kilmarnock Picture House project. We could maybe suggest that to them, you know, Sandy Armour and the guys, About transport, about the town, Katie, how do you navigate round the town, and what's your commute to work like?
Well, I'm really terrible because I tend to walk at most places, although most people know that I've got a wild Mini, and I'm a real Mini driver. I love my Mini, so I'm famous for flying about the place in a Mini. So my walk, I would tend to walk. If I'm going into town shopping, I would always walk in. And if I'm going any further, if I'm going up to Glasgow, I would sometimes take the bus, sometimes take the train up. I always walk into Killy, especially if I'm going for a wee meal out and I have a wee vino, make sure that I can walk back. So, and I like the walk into town, and I walk to the hairdresser, and sometimes I go a different route. I like going out round the Dick Institute to see another bit. Interestingly, because I've got a doggy lane, I like to walk the streets and see what it looks like. And then I'm quite often, and my guys will tell you this, it drives them mad on a Saturday. I'll be texting them outdoor guys saying there's rubbish there, go and get it lifted, or there's a wee bit of railing missing. So they're used to me doing it now because I care so deeply about the streets around here, and it hurts me when I see people dumping things and making it not nice for others. But I also do think there's a big responsibility for the people living here to take care of it. You know, it always seems to be that it's the council's fault there's fly tipping, and it really isn't. So I do walk the streets, and I walk different neighbourhoods for miles all around the place, and then quite often on a Monday or even in a Saturday afternoon, the guys will be getting a text from me in outdoor services or housing or whatever saying, pick that up with me on Monday, I want to talk about a list, and they'll say, oh, Katie's been out with the dog again, walking, trying to keep it nice. My commute to work, sometimes I drive, but it's to London Road, so it literally takes me about 6 minutes. But I like to walk, so I do try and walk. I do share the car with Angie now, so some days I walk in, and I like to walk into work, and I've got my earphones in, and I'm usually listening to a wee meditation on the way to work. And I get in there, I'm usually wearing my earphones, and people talk to me when I walk in, and I'm usually I don't hear them because I'm walking in with my satchel over my back. And then other days when I'm running a bit late or I need the car for work during the day, then I'll take the car up to London Road, and then because I travel to other parts of East Ayrshire, so sometimes I'll need the car with me. But predominantly is I walk into London Road, and it's a lovely walk just down, I skirt round the Pierceland Park and up and onto London Road and in with my earphones on. And quite often people on the way to work stop and offer me lifts, and I wave them on and I say, no, I'm getting the steps. So I'm often offered a lift and I don't take it.
So if you're in town, where's the best coffee shop?
Oh, well, I hope I'm not going to get into trouble. I've got to say, as Deputy Chief Exec, I love them all. So I do like Acosta, I love to go to the Cafe, but my favourite, I've been going for years and years, is round to Alistair's, round at the coffee press. And I've been going there for years, since he's been opened there, and picked up coffee to go, and actually he's catered some for a family birthday, and I've been to some of his gourmet nights and things. I go, sometimes I'll get a Costa, sometimes I'll go to the Cafe. I love their coffee, it's gorgeous. But if I'm going for a breakfast, I tend to go to the coffee press. I love the coffee there, and you always get a right friendly welcome. I know the staff, and they always have a good chat to us, and quite often I meet other colleagues that have retired from the council on a Sunday morning. So I would go there. I love going there. So I hate to think I would say I would be picking a favourite, because I'll be put down in flames. I do think we've got great businesses in Kilmarnock, but I've been going to Alistair's for a long, long time.
Yeah. What about a restaurant? If you were going out for more, a meal rather than just a quick catch up with someone, what kind of restaurant would you recommend?
Well, I've been to nearly every restaurant in Kilmarnock, and I love them all. And I have got a favourites, but I've been to every time a restaurant opens, I go. I loved the wee one that was at Titchfields for a while.
Yeah.
It was two brothers that ran it, and we really enjoyed going there. I was so sorry when it didn't carry on, but we went for lots of meals there. And I loved the one in the corner here at London Road that was open for a while. It's a different names, but unfortunately didn't keep going. The one that we go back and back and back to, and I've been going since it opened, is Da Vinci's. I go there. I get a great welcome. I love the couple that run it. I think they're from Lucca in Italy, and they're lovely people. We've had a lot of family gatherings there in the past. I've got to say my weakness is for their house red wine. It's absolutely stunning. So I keep going back for that. And I love it that they have a specials menu, so you can, I love their own menu, but you get to try something different. So I've been going there for years, but to be honest, I've eaten everywhere in Kilmarnock, everywhere there is, anywhere that opens, we go and enjoy it and bring family there. So over the years I've been to everything that's opened, but we probably go back more and more to Da Vinci's, just because I've been going since it opened.
Yeah. What if you could change one thing in the town, what would it be?
Oh, this is a difficult one as well. I just love Kilmarnock. I think people have talked about changing lots of things. The thing that came through a lot when I was doing the very early work around Celebrate Kilmarnock back in, it'd have been about 2016 we were doing it, and a lot of people talked about the one-way system, but it's not an easy thing to undo, a one-way system. And they were built for a reason at the time. I think sometimes the people miss out when they go round the back. So maybe it's and the other thing I know they're trying to do is to try and make the river more prominent. So maybe if I could change one thing, it would be to make the river more prominent. I love the river. I think a river is a really important thing. Towns that have got rivers have got good standing, you can talk it, and I think we should celebrate the river more. And the layout just now does tend to, you don't really see the river unless you go down Sandbed Street or whatever it is. And I know that there's some ideas to turn things in, and we put flowers in Sandbed Street, made it a lot nicer. And I know there's plans to build on the corner site where Mothercare used to be, and that'll open up the river more. I used to live in Waterside Street, which was just off the town centre beside the police station. And I used to sit down by the river a lot. There's a lovely wee bit down there. So maybe if I had, it would take a lot of money to change the infrastructure. And money's not something we have in big supply at the moment. So it's the art of the possible for me. I think we should really celebrate the prominence of the river more, if that's possible.
Yeah, a friend came to visit me a few years ago, and she couldn't understand. She says, Elaine, why has Kilmarnock turned its back on the river? Every other city and town makes the river a feature. And I thought, I'd never thought of it that way. And I know Annika Friel came to one of our board meetings, and she was talking about the Green Network, linking all the parks up and the routes into the town, and maybe using Sandbed Street. And I think that would be really good for people, because I think if you're local, you've got the knowledge of how to move about the town, but people who have moved here, come into some of the new housing estates, they don't know if you cut down this wee lane, it'll bring you out into John Finney Street, and they think maybe they have to go round the big one-way system all the time, there's definitely things that we could do to improve that. Right, so last question, because it's a lockdown interview, are there any new skills you've picked up, Katie, or have you got any tips you want to share with people how to cope through all the restrictions that we've had?
Right, well, I haven't taken up baking, but I've been enjoying other people's baking. I tell you what I have done is I've got more out into the garden. I know a lot of people have done that. And I've been out painting the wall in the garden, and that feels really good, because quite often in my job it can take a year to finish a project, but when you paint a wall, you work hard all day, you step back and the job's done. So I've been doing more things outside, spending time, making sure in that lockdown, I think it's important if you've got a garden to spend at least some time there, even if it's raining. You're not sugar, my granny used to say, you won't melt, or get out for a walk. It's so important. It changes the context. So I've enjoyed walking even more. I did anyway. We did a lot of walking because I've got a dog, and if I don't walk it, it's a bit like yours, it goes wild. But so my big thing is I probably get more active in terms of the walking, and I've got back on my cross trainer, and really only because I've been eating so much. I've been looking forward to eating all the different things. When you spend more time at home, I've been looking forward to doing that. So I think from my perspective, the big tips I would say is, you know, you need to make some kind of delineation between being at home and being out, even though our job's to stay home just now and to make sure we don't spread this horrible virus across. When you are out, take notice, be mindful. So I'm a very mindful person anyway. I do practice mindfulness and I do a meditation most days if I can remember to do it, and it makes a big difference to me. And some people think, oh, it's gobbledygook. It doesn't need to be, it can be for 10 minutes. But when you're out walking, I think here's my big tip: look at everything through new eyes, almost look at it as if you're a bird. What's in the trees? What do the leaves look like? What's the grass looking like? What are the plants looking like? Because quite often you can walk and you're inside your own head and you don't see the beauty that's round about you. So I would say when you walk mindfully, feel your feet in the ground walking along, take notice of what's round about you, and that actually gives you a whole feeling of perspective, because we're living in unprecedented, quite scary times just now, and it reminds you that you're part of something bigger. You're part of something much bigger, and we're part of a bigger environment and a place, and actually you feeling a wee bit smaller as a person helps you to your worries to be shrunk a wee bit as well. So my big tip, I suppose, is to enjoy taking exercise. Don't overdo it, you know, but for me, I'm trying to, it's an offset because I'm eating some lovely baking and all sorts of things, but also be very mindful, you know, be grateful for what the good things that are in your life, and also look at things through fresh eyes. So I think mindfulness is my big hint to people if they would try and do it.
Yeah, do you know, Katie, I used to live in a flat in Barbados Road, and that was one thing that I felt was missing. I didn't have an outside space, and I'm so fortunate now that I have a big garden here, and I think, oh, if you were stuck in that flat, Elaine, looking at the four walls, I think it would be so depressing. So you know, I really feel for people who maybe haven't got that outdoor space, but I suppose, like you said, Ellie, we are lucky in Kilmarnock. 10-minute walk for your front door and you can be in one of the lovely parks, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes your mood says to you, oh, I can't be bothered going for a walk, I'm not going to do it. Don't listen to your mood. It's just, it's not real. Do the opposite of what your lazy mood tells you and go and do it. And I promise you, this is a Katie guarantee, within 10 minutes when you're out walking, you'll say, I'm glad I did that. So there's something about pushing back just now against the voice in your head that says, oh, just button down and stay lazy and stay in. Getting out actually makes your whole, you know, a 20-minute walk gives you probably about 10 hours satisfaction later on. You'll feel better for it. So the mindfulness is, you're right. And, you know, I lived in Waterside Street and I had no garden either, but I loved looking out at the trees at the river. I looked out onto the river, and quite often I would go and sit there, and I was right on the verge of the Howard Park there. Although it wasn't my garden, I kind of pretended that the Howard Park was my front garden and used to walk in that as well. So, you know, that's my big thing to people. Get out as far as you can, get out as much as possible within the lockdown rules, because we're doing this to keep people safe and to save lives, but also open your eyes when you're out. Don't walk around worrying and go on autopilot. Consciously open your eyes to what's round about you, and for goodness sake, as far as you can, smile at everybody. This physical distancing, I'm desperate to cuddle everybody, but a smile is good just now. That's and you know, even when people look worried, when I say hi and smile to them, they open up again. You can see them becoming alive. So don't underestimate what a smile will do for someone if they're worrying about something.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Sometimes I have a really bad day at work and I go home and I think, oh, I can't be bothered taking the dog out, but you've got to take the dog out, and within 5 minutes it's almost like your brain my brain starts downloading and you get rid of all the fuzz. Yeah. Well, that's great, Katie. Thank you for giving us all your views. What we're going to do is we're going to collate them all and put them on our YouTube channel. So I'll let you know when it goes live. Okay?
Okay.